Hello and welcome back to the Good Wife podcast. Excited that you are back this week because I have another powerful conversation lined up for you. As usual, I did mention that this channel is about conversations, about storytelling, and the sole purpose is to inspire you who is watching to live a more meaningful life, have a healthier marriage, one that gives glory to God because He is the author of marriage. And if you're a woman who is watching or a man and you desire to grow in your faith, this is the space for you because the stories you'll hear, the experiences you'll hear will hopefully change your perspective, help you to see things differently, because that's the difference between just going through life or winning and thriving in life. So welcome to this channel. If you're new here, I hope you have a better sense of what we do here. If you are new, consider subscribing and making this your home. To those of you that are already part of the community, I'm so happy to have you back and thank you for your feedback. Remember to give this episode a thumbs up. I know there are some people who say, I am liking even before I watch. And I really, really appreciate that. So my name is Rachel. I am your host. And my guest today is called Maureen Otyek. Mrs. Maureen Otyek. Maureen is a Nalongo. Me, that's the only thing I saw in her bio. She's a whole Nalongo, but she's also a wife. She's a mother. She is an interior designer. Yes. And she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. But before she does, The Good Wife is in partnership with Travails of a Mother. If you have been on the internet space, YouTube, in the last 1 or 2 years, you've probably come across this initiative to gather women, anyone who has a womb, you are birthing or capable of birthing something, this is the space for you. Travails of a Mother, the second edition, is happening on the 8th of February, 2025. So as you end 2024 and look ahead, I think starting your year in prayer is the best place to start. And Travails of a Mother really is about digging spiritual wells for your children and your children's children. If you have no idea what that means, plan to come for Travails of a Mother, the second edition. It's only 150,000 shillings. And if you want to buy an early ticket, you only have up to the 15th of December, and you can buy that ticket at 135,000. The good news is there's also an online option. So if you are out of the country or maybe we're still within Uganda and you're not able to attend, only 70,000 shillings. For those of you that are in Uganda, for those of you that are in Kenya, Nairobi, 2,700 Kenya shillings. If you are out of Africa, $25. And if you are in Kigali, Rwanda, that's 30,000 francs. I hope I said it right. So there you have it. We're definitely going to be sharing the information as the show proceeds. So please take advantage of the payment options. But I think ultimately for me, the encouragement to you is prayer is so important. That's how we invest in our future. That's how we invest in our children's future. And so you want to be part of Travails of a Mother, the second edition, with Dr. Eunice Adubango. There's going to be amazing speakers. Nancy Owino, who was at the first edition. Pastor Sarah Segane is going to be there as well. You'll be hearing from Dr. Eunice Adubango as well. It's going to be a wonderful day of prayer and digging into the Word. And of course, the spiritual wells that I am talking about. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Maureen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Somebody commented on one of the episodes and said, oh, you should bring somebody who has been widowed before. And I remember when I read the comment, I was like, where am I going to find that person? How do I even begin looking, But it's as though God had my prayer. A friend of mine saw the comment and texted me and said, I know somebody. And here we are.
Wow.
Here we are. How are you, Maureen?
I'm good. Yeah. I'm really good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Wow. Where should I start?
The beginning.
I should first recommend that everyone goes for Travails because I attended this year.
Oh, you attended.
It was lovely.
Wow.
Super lovely.
Wow.
Yeah. Something about Maureen. A mother.
Yes.
Many people call me Nalongo Otyek, a mother to twin boys aged 12 right now. And then I have an 8-year old as well. So I'm a mother
okay.
of sons, 3 sons.
Okay.
Happily married to Maureen Otyek.
Yes.
I'm an interior designer by profession, and I'm a creative director at Otyek Interiors. We deal in all sorts of interior accessories, and we also offer interior design services. What else can I say about Maureen? Quickly.
Actually, I when you walked in, you were reading a book, which is actually still by your side, and I wanted you to say a bit about that, because when you describe yourself, I don't understand how the book enters. So tell us about your current read.
Oh, I'm one of those people. So my current read, yes, it's called Oh Uganda.
Oh, Uganda.
Oh Uganda, and it's a biography by Dr. James Ranyarari. This read was recommended by my uncle.
Okay.
Yeah, he was telling me a story about the history of Uganda, and he felt like we young people do not understand the history of
Where
Uganda.
we're coming from.
And he strongly recommended that I read this book. And ever since I got it, I have not put it down. It has such very interesting stories, humor, but also helps you understand some of the things that are happening in our nation, where the foundations started from, and even direct me how to pray for this nation, because I've got to understand Uganda better through this book.
Reading the book.
Yeah.
That's
It's real.
amazing.
Oh, Uganda.
The drama.
The drama is too much.
The drama.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think we spend a lot of time complaining about our country, and very little time, I think, investing in knowing and understanding. I was actually telling you that, okay, that's interesting. Why would anyone want to know about Uganda? We just seem to be like a Katogo, all sorts of drama happening. In fact, we think it's a joke, but like you were saying, there's a foundation, there's a root to where we started, and it helps to know where we're coming from.
Definitely. Just recently, we launched the Interior Design Association of Uganda.
Yes.
And one of the things we want to do is design Uganda, build Uganda. So if you don't understand the culture and the people of Uganda, you may not even know how to design for people in this nation. So those are some of the things we want to promote.
Yeah.
And just even from the humor, understanding how to design film Uganda.
Yes.
There are things I could actually use
that
are in their culture. If you come to Kabale, I could use those small baskets. And you've seen how people introduce those in their concepts. And it's interesting. It adds a lot.
It does.
And gives meaning.
It absolutely does. So you got married young. And I mean, we were talking earlier and you were saying any 23-year-old who is getting married will think their married life is going to be an extension of their life.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about the beginning, so you leave campus. Of course, for society, the natural progression is you finish school, you get married, have children, build a home. And so for you, it happened early, So talk to us about getting married. What was the excitement there? What was going on through your mind as a 23-year-old? And what were the first years of your marriage like?
Wow, interesting. When I look back at 23, first of all, I didn't just jump into it.
Yeah.
I dated my husband then for 3 years. So from first year to third year. By third year, I was engaged.
Wow.
And because he was 7 years older than me, it was like the natural thing.
Yes.
I trusted that he had life figured out.
Yeah.
And I was comfortable with him, and I felt like it's just going to be the extension for our dating life because the dating was blissful and it was nice. So I felt like, well, I'm not under pressure.
Yes.
So it will just continue
the way it has
way.
been.
And truthfully, it did. At the beginning, it did. It was wonderful. It involved a lot.
Yeah.
He was working away. He was working in Amsterdam with Airtel Group at that time. And so it gave me an opportunity to just travel the world.
Wow.
Because he was rolling out products in the different parts of Africa. So when he would be in this country, I would go.
Wow.
Would be here. So I got to enjoy life, and at 23, that's what it's about. That's what you're looking at. You travel the world, enjoy life, and that's it.
Yeah. As with life, many times you're hit by experiences that will completely change the course of your life, because you're here married, 23, of course, you and your husband, you're traveling because of his work. And it is a beautiful extension of your dating experience. And then your husband is diagnosed with cancer early on in your marriage. Of course, that must have been a blow. So tell us a bit about that and how that experience progressed.
It was really a blow because remember, you're coming from the peak.
Yes.
From the peak of your season in your marriage. As a young couple, that's not the kind of thing you're expecting to hit you. Because what happened is that he had been on secondment. So as soon as the secondment ended, he comes back home and he starts falling sick. And we assumed it was fatigue. Yeah, a fever here. And eventually we are hopping from place to place. And then he's diagnosed with leukemia. That was lymphoblastic leukemia. And man, it was a blow. I think I didn't understand it at that time.
Yeah.
I might have thought that maybe it's anemia until I went down to read about it. And then they gave me the C word. They were like, the doctor broke it down and said, you know what, this is cancer. And it's tough. You're going to have to take on serious treatment. There's chemotherapy. There's all this happening. Decisions had to be made very quickly. And I thank God for family, for his family, and friends that came together and were able to make a quick decision. Ended up in South Africa for over a year and a half. And I can tell you that was now the time I spent in my marriage, because for that length of time, I was
taking care
of him.
Yeah.
Caregiving is not easy.
No.
Caregiving, for anyone who has done caregiving, and it's different when you don't have a support system within your area. You're outside Uganda, or you're outside countries. It's different.
So it's just you.
It's just you. But we had a few friends who would come in
every once in a while.
But you want your mother there. You want your friends to be checking on you. It's different. It was tough.
I can imagine.
At 24, that's not what you're expecting.
No.
You're like, no.
This can't be my life.
It can't be. Yeah. So even when I went there, it was like, okay, let's get done with this thing.
Finish quickly. To living our lives,
Start our lives again. But it took a toll, and we went through cycle after cycle. Unfortunately, it didn't go well, and he passed away. So that alone.
So here you are, a young wife, doing, I guess, what wives do, take care of their husbands, because we made vows in sickness and in health. But that's not what you're expecting. Even when we are making these vows, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm saying in sickness and in health, but I don't want sickness. Nobody ever wants it.
Never. Far from us. It's like one of those things that is really, really far.
Yes.
But you need to know that at 25, you can imagine I had a number of friends who are still at LDC.
Still in school.
Yeah. Life has not started for them. They're still in school. Then at 25, just imagine yourself at 25. And here is your friend. She's widowed. You don't even know how.
Like, what do you say to her?
What do you say to her?
Yeah.
How do you manage? You've even not started dating. I had a number of friends who are not even dating yet. Now for you have different degree levels of problems.
Different set of issues. Like, your friends are not equipped. You are not equipped.
Oh my goodness. It was tough. My friends would just come to my home and just sit, spend time with me, and then maybe just take me somewhere for a drink, pray with me, anything they could try to just make
what they knew.
Until they realized. I remember one of my friends told me, you know what, Maureen, this problem is big. It's not something we can handle. I would be crying. I would be helpless. I had to figure out my life. They're asking me, what do you want to do? I'm like, I'm finished. I don't want to know what to do. This is it. Like, my life was already aligned to
a certain way. Yes.
Trying to navigate that. Even just going to the bank and signing. You know those things when you get there and you sign and you're taking widow at 25, people look at you like Gundi, what's up?
What's going
on? So it was different. A friend of mine recommended that I talk to a counselor. And I think that was one of the best
Like a saving
advice.
grace.
Saving grace for sure.
Yeah.
So she recommended, and I ended up going to see Auntie Theodora. And fortunate enough, she's the one who had counseled us. And
Oh, when you were planning to get married.
yes, when we were planning to get married. So she walked with me a journey, and it was not a short one.
I can imagine.
And she helped me offload because
you were carrying some
I
heavy
was
stuff.
really torn apart. I was devastated. I didn't know. I felt like my life was over. I didn't have a clue of if I was to be given an extra 50 years, how that would turn out. Yeah, so.
And I think just a moments in our lives where just you look at the horizon and you don't see hope. You don't see a future. Like, this thing has happened, you're like, I might as well also die.
That was it. In my mind, I was like, but really, I think this is it. I don't even have any child. I don't have anything. No plan. Remember, I'd stopped working. I used to work with UTL at that time. I'd stopped, closed everything. I was like, where do I start from? And her first question when I walked into her room, she asked me, who is Maureen? And I actually didn't know who I was. Wow. That's when I knew that my identity had been badly hit. I didn't know. I was lost. I was very lost. She told me, who is Maureen? What does Maureen like? What does she like to do? How does she want to spend her time? Okay, can we just try and scrape out something
a little bit.
And we work with that, because I'll just tell her, I don't know.
That was the answer you
I don't
had.
know.
Like, I don't know.
I don't know
who I am.
I could not attend a marriage fellowship anymore. I was neither married,
No divorced,
you're there, no divorced.
Single, you're just there.
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was a tough season.
Yeah.
So we worked together. She started by just encouraging me to find things that I enjoy, that I love doing, things like dancing. I remember I enrolled for dancing classes, and every time I would leave those dancing classes, I'd feel good about myself.
Rejuvenated.
Very rejuvenated. Yeah, just taking baby steps. And she caught me at that time. I was trying, at some point I was like, you know what, maybe I need to adopt a child because I didn't have a baby. And I was thinking, maybe that will distract me and put something to me, some sort of identity, add something to me. She told me, Maureen, don't even dare. First of all, you're so empty. You have no love right now. You also need to be filled up. And this could mess up that child, you know? And you don't know what taking care of a child means. And now when I look back,
you are thankful.
I'm thankful. I would have messed up that child because I definitely had maybe anger issues, because I was really volatile. I was edgy. I was not, to say I was in a good place. Later on, to bring in a child
who needs emotional support.
Exactly. And as a mother and a father.
Yes, because you were going to do both.
Yes. Yeah. So those are some of the things that could happen to someone who is in my situation. You find yourself, probably you have no children. Then your identity is shaken. You're like, you want to grab something
to hold on to remind you who you are.
Just, exactly. Yeah. And to give you weight.
Yes.
To give you some sort of weight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think because, I guess marriage gives you a level of identity.
A lot.
You know, you become, you join a family.
That's
you
true.
Get in-laws, you're a Mrs. Somebody.
Yes.
So when that is taken from you,
yes,
I can imagine you grappling, wondering, okay, so where am I? Who am I? Where do I fall?
And because this was so early in our marriage, I had not cemented some relationships so deeply. Apart from the family, a few friends, yes, but not so many that you some of them probably you were visited because you were going with someone.
Yes.
So you don't feel like you can start that on your own. It was a difficult thing. Yeah. And then I realized as a person, coming from university, I've not yet transited fully into what my career path is. Definitely, I had identity issues.
For sure. For sure.
I lacked perspective on where I was going. Now this flipped me. So that shaking of my ground, man, I was like, okay, where do I start from in terms of career? What do I want to do? And of course, people are offering solutions. Maureen, maybe try this. And then I found myself opting for business. Yes, I decided at that point, I opened a retail shop because I couldn't take on a full-time job.
Yeah.
I mean, some days I would wake up and I don't feel like I can't even wake up. Probably I spent the whole night crying and awake. Who's going to take me on?
Yeah.
Who? People offered me jobs, but I knew I would be a mess. I would mess them up. So I opted for business, which I thank God was a blessing because right there, God was unlocking something in me.
So your journey of healing, I know you said you walked with Auntie Theo, and her first question to you was, who am I? Yeah, like, who are you? And I think that's a really good place to start because she could see that that's what you were grappling with.
Yes.
What were the next steps of, like, now your grief process? You know, you're struggling with your identity. How did it then progress to you even considering remarrying? Because I know that, you know, for people who go through situations like that, remarriage is not really top of mind.
Yes.
Especially for women. It's not really top of mind because you're dealing with the grief, you're dealing with fitting in society, whatever that looks like, you know, you're dealing with the way your life has changed. And so now taking on a whole other marriage, no. You know, so what were the next steps in terms of, okay, I'm struggling with my identity. How did your grief then progress to, okay, maybe I could consider, you know, remarriage?
So one, she really made it clear that grief has no, let's say, I don't know how to describe it in such a way that many of us think that, you know, the grief has
an expiry date.
Exactly, an expiry date is what I was looking for. Like it's a journey.
Yes.
And it's a process. Okay? So you don't plan for it that, oh, by this time I should, you know, give it a timeline.
2 years, in 3
2 years, 3 years. The thing she encouraged was find Maureen. So how do we find Maureen? Maureen is a child of God. So there was Maureen before there was Andrew.
There was Andrew, yes.
There was Maureen. So this Maureen had something in her. She was a person. She has dreams. She has things she can do. You're not helpless as a person. And I think that's what kills young widows.
That's true.
You get? And there's a tendency for young girls where we get married and we get lost. You totally get lost because you feel like it is the ultimate. You have a right.
That's it.
So for me, I was one of those. I felt like this person had the clear vision of where we are going. I just fall into things. Now here I had to be and create the vision.
Yes, for you.
For me, as a child of God. What does that mean? They are talents, Maureen. I possess.
Put in you.
Yes. So she tried to scrape out, dig them out, encourage them out to just come out. That's why I think when she encouraged me, she was like, okay, let's start with business. You're not going to just wake up and sleep. Every day you have to have a plan, even if it's small. Can we start with business? Okay? We see how it progresses. Then maybe we can move to something else. In the meantime, let's grow your joy. Let's grow. It was, yes.
It's a process of growing it.
Growing it. You know, it's one thing to say the joy of the Lord is my strength. It's another when you're blaming God.
Yes.
For what has happened to you.
Yes.
I remember a friend of mine gave me a book, When God Doesn't Make Sense. And it actually made sense at that moment.
At that moment, yeah.
Because you've trusted God all your life. You feel you've married well. You kept yourself well, pure, and God owes you.
Hello.
Hey, then this thing flips on you. You're like, no.
What happened to our deal?
What happened to our deal? You know? So finding Maureen was a process.
Yeah.
I can't tell it was a one-day journey. We first had to find what I can spend my time doing. I'm not going to just sleep all day. There are things in Maureen. as I discovered my talents, do you want to go back to school? Do you think you're emotionally well to go back and do something more? So first of all, when I threw myself into business, it thrived. It gave me a certain sense of growth.
Yeah.
It came with its challenges. It kept me busy. It kept me
Feeling relevant.
Very relevant. Yeah, it gave me a sense of purpose. Then understanding God, having that intimate relationship.
Yeah.
First of all, my relationship with God had been flipped. So for her to draw that back to me, to love God again, was another thing altogether.
Yes.
So my intimacy with God, I had to take baby steps because I felt like, God, you had punished me. We are not buddies right now. God.
What have I
First
done?
beyond Katebe, I'm doing my life alone. But I also sense that even in my deepest, in my valley, he was still there. He was there, holding me, because I could tell that even when I did business, things were going well because he's holding me.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm healthy because my time in South Africa taught me so much. I saw pain. I was able to see life in a different lens. I actually feel like that place added me 20 years or 30 onto me.
Yeah.
So I was no longer a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
There was something that had been...
Something flipped.
Something
changed. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how I valued people, how I valued our time.
Yeah.
And so went through that process. It was about 8 months. And in the process, she started asking me, so Maureen, is anyone saying something? I'm like, Madam, this subject here
is a no-go area.
Is a no-go area.
Yeah.
Like, do not even think. First of all, I thought that those feelings were buried, zika, properly, like buried.
Like death had happened to
Death had
as
happened.
well.
Everything had gone with it. So do not even reawaken anything. I told them, by the way, that part of me is not there. It's like, really? But well, a few months later,
somebody popped up.
Someone popped up through a mutual friend. She had just come for holiday and she introduced me to a friend of hers. Before you go
there, you told me about an ultimatum you gave God.
Oh!
If you were to consider.
I remember I was praying and I told God, if I'm to consider getting married again, number one, I want someone from the north or the east or outside Uganda. You know how we Bachiga can be related. I was like, I don't want to be somewhere and I'm seeing my relatives. And I'm like, so I was struggling with that. And I thought that was too hard for God.
Imagine. You thought you had given him an impossible task.
Of course.
Yes.
Oh my. He brought
the one of the three. One of the three.
He brought properly. And I actually wrote it down. And I said, God, if this is to happen, this is what it should be. And I thought it was hard. He delivered.
Wow.
And for me, the shock was, this was different. I actually landed. You know those things we say? Properly.
The feelings you thought had been buried.
I thought they were buried. I was like, God, is this happening to me? I met the guy. I was like, Vanange, Maureen, hold yourself. Hold yourself. This is not normal. You're not supposed to be having
You're not supposed to be feeling like
not
this.
Like this at all.
Yes.
For you? You're not allowed. I remember, because I used to have continuous sessions with Auntie Theo, I went back and I told her, by the way,
I met
someone and I'm confused. I can't believe I have these feelings. I'm so conflicted. I don't know how to handle this. And the shock was when I met my husband, he proposed to me in 3 days. He was telling me, he was like, I have met my wife. I said, this is even worse. This is even worse.
He sounds so sure
I
of
thought
himself.
I'm just trying out this thing because I have been told, Geza, like just try.
Hey.
Maybe.
Shh. Properly.
I was like, okay, Maureen, what is this? And then, of course, I had to navigate those emotions.
Yes.
And I'm glad I had someone to help me just navigate that, understanding that I'm not betraying anyone. It's until death do us part. And it's usually very difficult for young widows because the expectation for widowers is usually people, even before you leave the burial grounds, people are already scouting for you. And it's okay.
Yes.
For widows,
it's different.
That expectation is not there.
Yeah.
In people's minds, they're like, good.
You got
that
married
is
once.
so fast.
Yes.
You got married already.
Yes.
What is the rush for?
Time.
What is it? Like how soon? Isn't that too soon?
Isn't it too soon?
And actually, when I met my friends, were like, "Banana, is that very fast? Soon? What is happening?" I could sense that from people's eyes. But because I had someone to walk with me, she put so much into perspective. There was no, what can you call it? Probably a reward for the one who has waited the longest. I don't know what people use for
and
judging.
How do you measure?
How do you measure?
What is long enough?
Exactly, what is long enough. And then she made me appreciate who I am and how I've been blessed.
Yes.
Because it's not every day that this happens to someone.
Yes.
I was really shaken. I can't say it was easy, but she told me, well, it's dating.
Yeah.
Give it time. It's not that you're jumping.
Yes.
Yeah. And then she just told me, why don't you invite him for our sessions?
Oh, because this had become an integral part of your journey. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's good. Maybe let's start there.
So she can see things that maybe you're not seeing. I like that.
When she met him, she was like, Maureen, this is a good man.
Wow.
This is a wonderful man. If you miss this one, I don't know. I'm seeing this side because she had sessions with him, had sessions with me. And then she encouraged us and just said, take it a day at a time. And we dated for 2 years.
Wow.
And it's been beautiful. We got married. Friends were happy for us. My other family was really happy for me. They joined us at the celebration. It's been a wonderful journey.
Yeah.
And I found my answered prayer.
Wow.
I've been a very happily married wife.
And
I can confidently say this because many of us right now struggle with that. We don't want to say that you have a good husband.
No, you should.
We don't want to say you have a good man. Because people make you feel like it will end in tears.
Yes.
So you have to be mindful of that.
Yes, don't overtell us.
But because I've had an experience that has given me that perspective of time, I appreciate life. I see life from a different lens. Yes. I appreciate relationships. I appreciate family. So I've been very intentional with my marriage to date. I'm very, very intentional. And I thank God that we have such a support system around us that has really supported us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in a way, I think God used this marriage to kind of redeem what had been snatched from you by death. At such a young age, you get into a new relationship, you meet a wonderful man and who you have been happily married to. How would you say God used that process to continue to bring healing? So maybe your new marriage, talk to us about like your husband.
Yes.
What are some of those experiences you've had with him that you look back and you're like, wow, God, I see what you did through this experience, in terms of healing me? Because like you've said, grief doesn't really have an expiry date.
It does not.
I'm sure there are moments where that experience still, it will always have a mark on your life, and impact you. Of course, the way it impacts you now is probably different from the way it impacted you back then. So, but how did God use that, your marriage, to bring healing, to you?
First after our honeymoon, I conceived twins.
Oh, wow.
That alone was like God telling me,
I'm here. I've always been here.
I've always been here. I felt really restored as a person. I was happy. I thanked God for that because I was like, okay, God, because there were also questions in that regard.
I'm sure there were.
There were questions. What had happened? Why didn't you have children before? So God had answered a prayer. But also walking this journey, even through our marriage, we've tried to use our marriage to support other people. Yeah. We support people. I love to support definitely young widows, but also I've been deliberate. As a person, I've evolved. And at some point, I started a ministry with a friend of mine who happens to have been my sister-in-law,
Your sister-in-law, yes,
Pamela.
Yes.
We decided to start the Evolving Woman ministry, which was aimed at helping women who have been wounded, you know, regain their self-confidence. Just be self-aware, because that's one of the things we struggle with.
That's true.
Self-awareness and confidence building. And just find yourself and thrive again.
Yes.
So that is how we birthed Evolving Woman. And I can tell you, my husband supported me.
Wow.
Right from the beginning.
Wow.
He supported that, because he said, you know, right here is your purpose.
That's it.
That's one of the reasons. That experience was not for you.
No.
It wasn't for me.
No. We were saying earlier how our life experiences are not our own.
Yes.
You know, and if you'd allow God to use your pain, it can then create purpose out of the pain. But if you keep holding on to it and it becomes a thing that now becomes your identity, then that's all it will be, you know.
Amazing how we've had over 400 women go through Evolving Woman programs.
Wow.
I would never have imagined that I had that in me.
In you.
Because that had been crushed. I didn't know. But imagine then people who have come through, whether with grief, childlessness, divorce. I was telling you the kinds of wounds people come with, church wounds, financial wounds.
Yes.
Life can happen. It throws all sorts of things at you. So we birthed programs like right now we had Eza running for 10 seasons. Then we have right now Talitha. So the ladies come through, and because we discovered on our own through that time that we didn't have a tool to support us. We're lacking that. If I didn't have Auntie Theo to help walk with me, where does a woman right now? And not everyone can afford a counselor or something. So the way Evolving Woman works, it's more of peer counseling. You have people who have gone through this, so they support you on this journey. And it's just amazing at how many women have been supported, whether they are widows, whether it's all kinds of wounds, father wounds, mother wounds, family wounds. We are all challenged in one way or another.
Ways, in different
Probably you've not even embraced your credo. You're there struggling as an adult. The things that you're projecting, but they're coming from the trauma and the wounds you have experienced as a person.
And you need support to navigate, you know, the feelings, the emotions, and then what they're producing in you and in how you're interacting with people.
So that's one of the things that I was able to birth. And I really became aware that this was my purpose, because I was aware of my identity as a person. I think that is the difference this time around. When I was getting married now at 30, I was aware of who I was and what I'm bringing on board, you know, which gave me a certain self-confidence. And then knowing that I need to give back to other people, which gives you a sense of purpose. And when you have that, I think it contributes a lot to marriage.
Absolutely.
A lot.
You show up for other people, you're able to show up in your marriage as well.
Thank you. That's true.
I don't understand the science, but I hear you.
Yes, that's true. So it kind of poured into our marriage. Having that sense of purpose. It even became easier for me to start cheerleading my husband and just cheering him on, to go for his goals, go for his visions, go for his dreams, everything he wants to pursue, because he was supporting me on this mission.
Wow. You know, you said something about when you conceived your twins and how it brought you so much joy, almost kind of made you realize how God has been with you in that situation. And I was reminded of Joseph in the Bible. I was actually reading that portion of scripture recently, how after his time in prison, he becomes the prime minister, and Pharaoh gives him a wife, and then he has 2 sons, and he names his first one Ephraim.
Yeah.
And Ephraim means God has remembered me, like it made him forget.
Yeah.
And I don't think he uses forget as in I don't remember it, but it kind of, it's like a restoration, redeemed
me.
That the pain, the suffering I have gone through, it's like, it's like God is saying here.
He has washed it away.
Thank you. And it's like a reminder that I was there.
Yeah.
Even then when you were suffering, and now I'm just giving you this thing of, man,
yes,
you have been faithful, in the suffering, because
even when you don't see it, He's working.
He's working.
He's working.
He is working. And I think there's something to be said about faithfulness in suffering. Like staying grounded. Yes, you're falling apart in the physical, and you also have questions for God, but you still maintain a posture of, I know that God is there. I know that He's faithful, and I don't think He meant for this situation to completely break me.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's one of the things, let's say, widows struggle with.
Yes.
Or anyone who has gone through some kind of shaking.
Yes.
They feel if they are given an opportunity, like getting another spouse, there's a tendency to devalue yourself.
That's true.
There's a tendency to devalue yourself because you feel you are less.
Because you lost a spouse.
You lost a spouse. So you can you can feel like your value is less, which is so wrong as a daughter of God.
Yeah.
Or as a child of God.
Yes.
And a daughter of a king. I think for me, that's one thing she pulled out of me.
Yes.
And showed me that you can even get a good person.
Yes.
You can do better.
Deserving.
You are deserving. You're worthy. Actually, it's you're worthy.
You're worthy.
You're worthy of it all. You're worthy of a good spouse. You're worthy of good friends. You're worthy
of a good marriage.
Yeah. You are worthy of a good career.
That's true.
And it's possible and it's redeemable. That is one of the things she helped me with. And once I discovered that, even with my intimacy with God, I was able to see that.
Yeah.
So when I got Martin, I was feeling like, wow, I'm worthy of this guy. I didn't settle, probably. I've seen people compromise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've seen people compromise. You end up like a third wife because you feel like someone is doing you a favor. You don't want to be stressed with other issues, or you don't even want to commit to another person, so you start navigating certain waters,
relationships there.
And then you end up with more issues and more issues, and it's even worse when you even have children. It's difficult, It's tough. I've seen it through some of the ladies I've worked with in Evolving Woman, because you're trying to manage it a certain way. So it's first understanding and coming to the realization that you're worthy and you deserve more. You deserve the best as a daughter of the King.
Yes. And just because this has happened to you doesn't mean that it doesn't speak to your identity. I think that's what we forget.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that, there's something off about you, therefore you're the one whose husband is going to die or whose wife is going to die. It's just the way life happens, and sometimes we are handed all these experiences, obviously for a purpose. And if we could only remain steadfast in the process, it is tough. I mean, I'm sure you're hearing Maureen tell you this story. It is tough. But if you allow God to lead you, wake up one day, say, I have made it through the day. Let's try again tomorrow. You have support. You lean into support, because there's also having support and you don't want it, because it's easier for you to just cry and keep the curtains, drawn, and you don't want to interact with anyone. I think if you persevere and if you endure, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
There's always light at the end of the tunnel. I can also say to someone that if you're in such a space, I think it's important to first grow yourself as a woman. Really, use this time, probably, because when you find yourself in such a space, you're a mother, probably widowed and all these things. Can we first navigate you as a woman, as a sister, as a daughter, as a friend? These relationships are also very wounded in the process of you, because you kind of disappear. And you think everyone is going to wait on you until you come back. No. You can actually end up hurting beautiful friendships.
That's true.
Because people are reaching out to you, but you're not ready to receive. So you can reject them in that process.
Yes.
So my encouragement during this time, embrace the friendships that are there. Grow yourself. Then grow yourself as in terms of your career. Take baby steps, but be intentional on that bit. Then you can be able to support yourself as a companion. Because if this is not well nurtured, it will not be able to work on the other side.
It just won't. Yes. And then now you enter a relationship, and then now your husband doesn't understand you.
You're so needy. Yes. You're so needy. Yes. The kind of feelings you're projecting,
he can't handle.
He's supposed to be your God.
Yes.
And he cannot be.
No, he
your
can't.
Expectations are way
too high.
Too high.
Yeah. Way too high.
And he cannot meet them. So you find yourself now with more difficult issues to, to address.
And God forbid that ends in a failed marriage. Because, your husband now just doesn't understand who he's dealing with.
That's why they say hurting people
hurt others. That's true. That's very true. Anyway, so you get married. God is restoring you. You and your husband are supporting other couples. I want you to talk a bit about that. Where did that inspiration come from? You talked about the perspective of time, how, dealing in your first marriage, you realize, time is precious.
It's very precious.
So talk to us about that perspective and what you and your husband are doing in terms of supporting married couples.
So right now we support, we are members of Worship Harvest.
Yes.
Chira. So we support we host a fireplace, which is really the marrieds in that area code. So we work with them, support and encourage each other as a family. And it's been very rewarding. Very rewarding. We've got such a community of people. And it has also poured into our marriage as well.
Yes.
It has poured into our marriage. One of the reasons we started this is because we had one of those challenges. In our first 7 years, we were in a long-distance marriage.
Oh.
My husband was working in Masaka.
Really?
Yes, he was working in Masaka. So we are back and forth here and there. But not only that, I sensed that we didn't have a clear vision for our marriage. And that's why I tell people that we perish for lack of knowledge. My people perish because we lack knowledge. So for 7 years, we were trying to do things our way until we discovered there are people who have gone ahead of us.
They figured this thing
out.
Yes.
They can support us. So we looked out for mentors. First of all, we went for Ndoa, which was the jumping.
It was a jump starter.
It was a real jump starter for us.
Yes.
That alone was able to give us a form to work with in terms of the vision for our marriage, the goals for our marriage. Like I told you that I was one of those people who grew up with this perspective of, the ultimate is really working away from here, going to the States or the UK. And then I meet my husband. He's in Masaka. He likes working with grassroots people, working with communities. And then the other thing is he's so in love with his people of Lira and his community.
Like where he comes
from. Yes. And he wants to develop that area. He has such love. He loves farming so deeply. So imagine you're trying to take someone to America. And they're going to Lira. So where do you meet?
Where do you meet?
So for the first years, we were really pulling each other. Pulling and pushing until I realized by even just going for Ndoa, it's brought some great perspective in terms of the headship. My husband as a head, his vision, and how I can support him on this vision, and it becoming a family vision. Despite me having my talents, my dreams, my all those things that I have, that's where we are. So it also showed me that I needed the support of community to support our marriage
That's true.
and help it thrive. That's how we went for the fireplace. And that's not it. You also need, but as we did fireplace, we realized that some of the issues that we are addressing in fireplace, they are coming from somewhere.
Yes.
And very recently, we joined a group of people that is doing counseling for members of All Saints Church. They stopped that group counseling, and now together they've partnered with Life Ministry, Family Life Ministry, to support young couples that are intending to get married. Not even just young, all couples that intend. Yes, because we get all sorts of couples. True. So we work with them and prepare them, because these things need to be addressed before.
Yes.
You know, and not after. And from our life, we have understood that we need mentors. Many people are doing marriage in isolation. We have business mentors. We have career mentors. I have a business coach. We have marriage mentors. You just talked about Travails of a Mother. Dr. Eunice is actually one of our mentors, both business and marriage. She's supported us and worked with us. And if we had not drawn from her well, I don't think we would be where we
you are.
Would have struggled a lot. But anytime I've had certain challenges, or we've had certain challenges, we're able to bounce them off and, see how to actually navigate them.
That is so true. I think we can't overemphasize the importance of mentorship. Whether it's, call it mentorship, call it community, whatever it is you want to call it. Marriage cannot be done in isolation. And
with wisdom.
With wisdom, obviously.
A house is built.
Yes. With wisdom,
a house is built. And by understanding, it's established. And with knowledge, you fill it with all these precious stones. So many of us want to fill the precious stones, but they're empty. You need wisdom. And wisdom comes from people who have even gone ahead of you.
For sure. So, community. I know I talk about community a lot on this podcast. It is very, very important. And I think for me, my prayer is that you will prayerfully consider who your community is. It's not just anybody to speak into your marriage. I think pray about it and let God lead you to the right communities, because that's where you're going to thrive. That's where you're going to find purpose. You'll have better understanding of, okay, this is what my marriage is about. Perhaps this is the direction we're supposed to be taking,
You mentioned that I'm very cautious of my perspective of time. And one of the things as a couple we value is friendship. So we've been very intentional, even as we create our community, our tribe of friends. We have such a strong tribe of friends that have worked with us.
With you.
Yes. So besides having the fireplace and all these other spaces, where we draw from our friendships, because we are aware how things can flip.
That's true.
Yes. So we are so aware of that. And I think it's even worse because he's even a medical doctor. So his stories every other day.
I know. They give you perspective.
They give me a lot of perspective.
They give you perspective.
When I'm talking about money, he's like, health is wealth. Bare minimum. Health is wealth. Let's first address that before we address anything else. So it's put so much perspective into our lives.
I love that. I love that. I mean, thank you, Maureen, for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. And I think as we try and bring this to a close, what would you say to that young widow? And by young, I think I mean, so yes, there's young in terms of maybe they are also young, just 25, 26, so maybe early 30s. But there's also young where they've been married a short time, that they got into marriage and before they knew it, the marriage is over because, their spouse has died. I don't think there's an intensity of grief depending on the years of marriage. Grief is grief. Whether you've been married 10 years, 15 years, 3 years, 2 months, when you experience a loss, you are going to go through grief. And so I'd want you to speak to that widow, even widower, who is experiencing, how can they go through this grief in a way that they can then see purpose at the end of it? And then, of course, speak to the wives and the married people. what would your parting shots be to the couples that are watching?
Thank you so much, Rachel. I've really enjoyed this.
Me too.
I would really encourage a young widow out there, even a widower, that don't do this in isolation. Yeah, the devil thrives in secrecy.
That's true.
And there are so many people out there. If you can step out, I know there might be judgment, maybe because we all deal with different problems. Maybe you're dealing with in-laws, you're dealing with issues here and there. But there are communities that are there that can support us. Evolving Woman is one of them.
Yes.
Don't do this in isolation. Seek help. Because once you are struggling with certain issues, you can end up, I've seen people end up sick. You can start getting health complications. You're dealing with pain, which is emotional pain, and then it switches to other things. Yes. So my encouragement is find a space. Find someone to walk with you. Don't do this in isolation.
By yourself.
There's always support. You can ask Rachel for my contact.
Yes.
You can reach out. She can send it out to you. I'm here to support because I always work with people. And even for the widowers, because, men don't like seeking for help. They never ask for help.
No.
They feel they can handle.
They got this.
They've got it. But it's tough. It's tough. And it's even worse when you're left with young children to handle alone. You might have that supporting family, but it's not enough. You need people to work with. Reach out. We can recommend people to help walk this journey with you. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. And because you've been such a wonderful guest, I have a gift for you. I have gifts for you.
I love gifts. I love gifts.
So I'm sure the boys will enjoy this.
Oh, definitely. They are going to enjoy it.
Apart from Newman's are the makers of amazing variety of snacks. So if you're into popcorn, you love your gonja crisps, your potato crisps, your nuts, your hard corn. I know they're making peanut butter as well. When you're in the supermarket, this is the go-to. So they put together a pack for you. And I know these ones are going to the boys.
Wow. Thank you so much, Rach. This is so lovely. I appreciate.
Isn't gift giving nice?
Oh, I love
this one is for you.
It's almost Christmas.
Yes,
Christmas
has
come early.
This one is for you from Risa Naturals. Risa Naturals are the makers of skincare products, natural skincare products. So they have amazing butters, body scrubs, soap for your face, for your skin, even for your babies. So if you have sensitive skin, maybe you're struggling with eczema, or you just want to go natural, Risa Naturals. Follow them on Instagram. They've got a Christmas promo happening. You want to follow it, and maybe you could buy yourself something nice. And of course, Newman's as well on all their socials. So this is for you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Risa. Thank you. This is nice.
You are welcome. Thank you for being here. And you're wearing some Christmas colors. I'm seeing the maroon
already.
Yes, already. Yeah. So thank you for coming. Please let us know in the comment section if this episode has touched you, blessed you, you want to share it with someone. Maybe you were relating with Maureen's story. There are things that she said that you want to walk away with. We are happy to hear your feedback. Leave it for us in the comments. And then, of course, I'll share Maureen's number if you are interested in working with her. I'm going to share her contact. Okay. Until next week, we'll be right back with another conversation right here on the Good Wife Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and join our amazing family. Bye-bye.